Palitan ko lang itong course. So I'll just record this video no, para meron kayong basis dun sa discussion natin for today. Kasi na yun. Okay, so ano ko lang. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so good morning to all of you. So yung topic natin for today is this is for your subject IT311, IT Infrastructure and Network Technician. I don't know if nabanggit na sa inyo that pinasa sa akin yung subject ni Sir Ken, which is IT Infrastructure and Network Technician. Okay, and yung ibang mga subject kasi ni Sir Ken is pinasa sa amin dalawa ni Sir Ronel. Okay. Yung sa akin, no, starting this term, we will going to discuss IT311, IT Infrastructure and Network Technician. So, yung topics natin, I put that in the midterm part, no, yung IT, yung subnetting. This will magdi-discuss tayo ng mga topics today. No, that will be for your midterms, and then later on, we're going to discuss another topics naman for the finals. Okay? So let's now proceed to our first topic. Our first topic is all about subnetting. Okay? I-open ko lang yung presentation. Okay. So before we discuss what is about subnetting, okay, it is very important for us to understand what is the use of what we call IP addressing. So in network, no, in creating network, importante yung tinatawag nating IP addressing. No? So if we are using computers, most of the time, syempre, pagka kumonek tayo sa internet, there will be a time for you to see or to check the IP address of your PC. Okay, hindi kasi pwedeng makakonect sa network ang isang computer kapag wala siyang IP address. Okay? Because IP address is, no, from the meaning, okay, it is an address that used in order to uniquely identify the device on the network. Okay? So parang ano yan, identification number ng computer mo once na-connect siya sa isang network. It's either in local area or using internet. Okay? Now, if you want to see the IP address of your computer, okay, so pwede mong gawin tong task na to. So you can click start and then you just type CMD or command. Okay? Pag lumabas na yung command, ito, okay, you can type the command ipconfig. So you type ipconfig, no space. Now after that, you press enter and you can see now the IP address of your PC. So ang IP address, dalawang klase. So we have two types of IP address. We have the what we call IP version 6, this one. And yung traditional na ginagamit natin, which is the IP version 4. Okay? So most of the time, ginagamit natin is IP version 4. But yung mga new devices, new routers, and new equipment, gumagamit namin tinatawag natin IP version 6. Okay? So as you can see in this prompt, no, nakalagay dito yung IP address ng computer ko. So I have here 10.0.0.10, and this is the IP address of my computer. Okay? So ito yung tinatawag nating IP address. So just remember, the IP address has two types. Okay, so we have two types of IP address. Okay, we have number one, we have the IP version 4, and we have IP version 6. Okay, so those are the two types of IP address. Now, since we are in a network, okay, kapag nasa network ka kasi, meron naman tayong two uh, class of IP. Hindi pala class. Two classification of an IP address. And what are those? Meron tayong tinatawag na public IP, and we have number two, which is private IP. Okay? So just remember that we have two classification of IP address. We have the what we call public IP, and we have also the what we call private IP. Okay? Now, what is the difference between public and private? So pag sinabi nating public, okay, ito yung address mo, address connecting to internet. Okay? Kapag ka kumukonect tayo sa internet, there is a what we call uh, public address. Now, but if you are connecting to network or to LAN, okay, ito naman yung tinatawag nating address na kailangan natin. We have the what we call private address. Okay, so this is the address if your PC is connecting to LAN or local area network. Okay, so in our PC, nung nag-type tayo kanina, ito, may lumabas na ganito. Yan. This is what we call the private address. Okay? Remember, we call this as the private address. Now, in order for you to see your public IP, okay, ganito ang gagawin nyo. Okay? So first, let's going to open a browser. Okay, then you type here, what is my IP.com. Okay, so type nyo lang itong website na to, what is my IP.com. And then once you press enter, automatically, lalabas dito yung IP address. Okay, so nakikita nyo to, 122.53.32.193. This is the public IP address of my computer. Okay? So, nakita. And this is my public IP version 6 address. Okay? So, it's either of the two. Yan yung address na ginagamit nung computer na ginagamit ko. So, let's try to write it down. So, my PC has two addresses. Meron tayong private. Okay, so my private address is located here. This one. So let's just type. So my address is 10.0.0.10. And then my public address is equivalent to this number. So just copy this. And then lagay lang natin dito. Okay, so this is the public and the private address. Okay, now the question is, bakit dalawa yung address na meron ng PC natin? Since my computer is connected to the internet, okay, automatically I have a what we call public IP. Pero kapag yung PC mo nakakonect lang sa network or sa LAN, okay, at wala kang connection sa internet, private address lang ang meron tayo. Okay? Since my computer is connected to a network, at the same time, nakakonect ako sa internet, so I have two different types of address. We have the private and the public. So, yung public IP, ito yung IP address na ginagamit ko para makakonect ako sa internet. Okay? So, ito naman, ginagamit natin for connecting to the local area network or simply the LAN. Okay? So, these are the what we call uh, addressing, no, or IP address. Remember, IP address is used, or it is a type of address that used to identify computer on the network. Okay, so our first activity on your PC, no, doon sa mga gumagamit ng laptop and computers, kindly check your public IP and your private IP. Okay, just message it to our dun sa ano natin, dito sa Google Meet, dun sa Messenger. Okay? Kindly open your yung ano ng Messenger and then kunin nyo yung public and private address ng computer. Okay, I give you 5 minutes for that. If you have any question, just ask. Okay. Ano yung public IP mo, Jelina? So that is your IP version 4. What is your public IP? Check mo kay Google. Type mo lang, what is my IP? Okay. Halimbawa, try natin. Alam ko kay Google pwede. Okay. Go to Google, then type mo lang, what is my IP? Ayan. Lalabas naman dito. Okay. O kaya, ayan, may mga sites na pwede nyo makita para malaman nyo yung IP address ng PC. So, pwede rin sa whatismyipaddress.com, makikita nyo rin. So, same lang naman yung lalabas dyan. Ayan. As you can see in my case, ayan, same lang din yung lumabas. So, your public IP is IP version 6. Hindi niya pinakita yung IP version 4 mo? Hindi, yung tinay pong IP version 4 mo, yan yung public IP mo. Pero yung private address ng IP version 4, wala pa. How about the others? Nasaan na yung iba? Wala bang gamit na laptop or PC para ma-check? Lime, ikaw. Okay. So, yan, yung 120.29.109.187, that is your public IP address. Si Mardy, ayun, 192.168.0.17 and public IP is 111.125.121.24. Mardy, ano internet mo dyan sa bahay?
Converge po, sir.
Kaya pala. Kasi pag converge is it starts with 111 or 110 yung start ng public IP. Si yung public IP ni Jolina 120, so it means that is PLDT. Am I correct? Ah, pero PLDT ka, no? Hmm? Convert, so 120. So kasama pala yung 120 kay converge. Serial 120.29.72. That is your public. Ano yung private address mo, John Reniel? Okay, that's correct. Ira. Ang question lang, ano yung public IP mo? Di po niya ma-detect. Ano bang gamit mo? Laptop or cellphone? PC. Ma-detect niya yan? Type mo lang to, yung IP config. Okay? Click mo lang yung CMD. Diba? Paano lalabas to? Click mo lang yung start. Then CMD. Type mo lang CMD. And then IP config. Hindi po ma-detect. Hindi ma-detect alin? Yung private or yung private IP ba? Yung hindi ma-detect?
Yung private po, sir.
Ma-detect yan. Clinic mo na yung CMD. Tinype mo na. Ito, yung ginawa ko. Yung nasa black screen. Click mo lang yung start, tapos type mo CMD, then type mo lang IP config. Okay. Okay, so check nyo na lang to. No? Basta ganun lang way. No? Click nyo lang start, then CMD, IP config. Once na tinype mo yon, automatic lalabas yung private address. Ngayon, if you want to get your public, okay, punta lang kayo kay Google, type nyo lang what is my IP address, and you can see your private IP address. Okay? Okay, so let's now try to have, let's go now to the next part. So sabi rito, remember IP address is used to identify devices, okay, on an IP network. Okay, remember that the IP address is a 32-bit number. Okay, 32-bit number ang IP address natin. So what does it mean? Ano ibig sabihin ng 32-bit number? Okay? So ang IP address, kung napapansin nyo, it's either public or private. Tingnan nyo na lang dito. Lalakihan ko na lang. It is composed of 4 numbers separated by dot. Okay? 4 na numbers yan separated by dot. So it means, ang IP address natin, okay, bawat isang ganyan, ang tawag natin dyan is octet. Octet. Okay? Tawag natin dyan is octet. So, how many octets are there in an IP address? So, the number of octets do we have in an IP address? We have 4. Okay? So, this is the first octet, the second, the third, and the fourth octet. So, we have 4 octets in a public IP. Pag sinabi naman natin octet, remember, 1 octet is equivalent to 8 bits of number. Kaya nga ang tawag sa kanya is octet because from the word octal, it means 8. Okay, so meaning sa isang octet, we have 8 bits. Okay? So kung meron tayong 4 na numbers dito, and each number is represented by octet, so how many bits do we have? So automatically, an IP address is equivalent to how many bits? 32. Okay, 32 bits. Kaya ang tawag niya dito, ayan, sinabi natin dito sa meaning, an IP address is a 32 binary bits. So, meron tayong 32 bits in an IP address. So, kung titingnan nyo, ayan, 1 octet is equal to 8 bits. So, since we have 4 octets, okay, multiply mo lang yan sa 8, we have 32 bits. So, anong ibig sabihin nun? Ang IP address natin is something like this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? So if you're knowledgeable, kung naalala nyo pa yung binary conversion, okay, these are examples of binary. Okay? These are examples of binary. And then, ang ginagawa lang natin is dito natin kinukuha yung IP address na meron tayo. That's why yung IP address natin is hindi kung ano-anong number. Since that is only 8 bits, so it means that is 2 raised to 8. Okay? 2 raised to 8. And remember, 2 raised to 8 is equivalent to what? What is 2 raised to 8 plus? So, ibig sabihin nun, i-multiply mo yung 2 8 times. So, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That is 2 raised to 8. And that is equivalent to 256. Okay? 256. Including yung 0. So, that the value is equivalent to 256. Okay, ngayon, ibig sabihin nun, you can get numbers from 0 to 256. Okay, kaso may minus pa yan. Actually, there is a what we call minus 2. So, equivalent yan is 254 addresses lang ang pwede mong gamitin, no? In a certain octet. So, meaning, hindi ka pwedeng magkaroon ng IP address na lalagpas sa 250. Actually, ang value niyan is 255. So, ang addressing natin is any number from 0 to 255. Okay? Kasi kung bibilangin mo yan, from 0 up to 255, all in all, that is 256. Okay? Bilangin niyo yung number from 0. Start with 0, no? 0 up to 255 is 256 numbers. Okay? So, meaning, ang IP address, kung napapansin nyo, tingnan nyo yung public and private address natin. Hindi lalagpas yan ng 255. Okay? Ang maximum niyan is 255. Naintindihan ba, class? Naintindihan?
Opo, sir.
Okay. So, let's now proceed to our next discussion. So, okay na tayo kay public ID. So, let's go now to our next part. Dito na muna tayo. Okay, I want you to memorize this table. Okay, we have 3 different classes of IP address. So, we have class A, class A, class B, and class C. Okay, and each classes has different values in terms of bits range, subnet mask, the network formula, the CIDR, and the number of hosts. So, let's start with class A. So, remember, class A in terms of addressing, ang range niyan is from 0 to 127. So, itong range, tinitingnan natin yan sa first octet. Okay, so if this is the if this is your IP address, okay, if this is your IP address, yung first octet, ito, yung first number, dito natin tinitingnan yung range. Okay, so since this is 10, okay, this is 0 to 127, so it means this address is class A. Nagigets ba? Okay.
Apa.
Itong public IP address na 122 is under class A pa rin. So this address and this address are both class A. Now, in your PC, I think yung private nyo is 192. Nakikita nyo sa PC nyo. So, since your PC is using 192, you are in class C. Ayun, kasi ang class C is any number from 192 to 223. Ang class B naman is from 128 to 191. Okay? Now, each corresponding classes has its corresponding subnet mask. Okay? If that is class A, so your subnet mask is 255. Why 255? Kasi yan yung pinaka-maximum number. But remember, ang isang IP address has the maximum value of 255 and the lowest value are 0. So just remember, subnet mask ng class A is 255.0.0.0. Class B, dalawang 255.0.0. Class C, tatlong 255.0. Okay? So yan, yung tinatawag nating subnet mask. Now, if you look to in my command prompt, okay, meron makikita diyan subnet mask. Okay, remember, the IP address that I use is class A. Class A yan kasi 10. Pero yung subnet mask ko is class C. Tingnan nyo, yung class C is 255.255.255.0. Yung subnet mask ko is 255.255.255.0. So it means class A yung IP, pero class C yung subnet mask. So further explanation for this, i-discuss natin later. Okay, bakit ganyan, sir? Class A yung sayo. Sabi mo, ang default is pag class A ka, 255.0.0.0. Bakit yung sayo, tatlong 255.0. Pang class, pang class C. Ayun, under class C, yung subnet mask na yan. So, pwede naman yun, kaso nga lang, there is a what we call computations. So, at sasabihin ko rin sa inyo mamaya kung bakit ako gumamit ng class C na subnet mask, pero ang class ng IP address ko is class A. So later on. Okay, next. Okay na tayo kay subnet mask. Let's go now to the network formula. So network formula is nagbe-base tayo sa ang network formula, binibase lang natin yan kay subnet mask. Okay? So kung napansin nyo, ang isang N kasi, okay, N is equivalent to 255. And H is equivalent to 0. So remember, ang N is also known as network and H is also known as host. Okay. So, kung napansin nyo, okay, tingnan nyo yung new subnet mask. Pag sinabi natin 255, it means N. And then kapag 0, that is H. That's why yung network formula natin is dito lang binase. Dalawa yung 255 sa class B, dalawa rin yung N. Dalawa yung 0, dalawa yung H. Tatlo yung 255 sa class C, then isang 0. So tatlong N, isang H. Is that clear? Ayun, yung N dito, isa. Bakit isa lang? Kasi isa lang yung 255. And then the rest are H. The rest are 0. That's why it is represented as H. So, nakuha. So, N, pagka class A, N.H.H.H. Pag class B, N.N.H.H. Pag class C, N.N.N.H. So, that is what we call the network formula. Okay? Malinaw yung network formula? Okay, let's go now to the CIDR. Okay, when we say CIDR, CIDR, CIDR is also known as classless inter-domain routing. And that is the CIDR value. And remember, a CIDR value has always a slash. Kita nyo rito? Meron siyang slash. So, kapag class A, slash 8. Pag class B, slash 16. Pag class C, that is slash 24. So, it means, paano natin nakukuha yung CIDR? CIDR, wait lang class, may tawag lang si attorney. I call you back. Paki-memorize to ha. Paki-memorize then I'll call you back.
Yawa.
Ako yari ka. Naka-record.
Ay, nako. Gagaga ako nagising na wala internet namin kanina. Ah, memorize daw natin yun. Share nga sa akin yung dinadownload. May meeting daw sila.
Kabisaduhin niyo na raw.
Ay, kabasado nyo na lang.
Na-screenshot niyo ba?
Pasend naman. Hindi ko na SS.
Hindi ko rin na. Ano
Sa akin.
nandun? Kaya mo na sabihin? Sige, sigurado ko.
Dali, send ko na lang yung... No.
Medyo matagal yan, sir. Yan pupunta pa siya dun sa ano.
Oo, mamaya pa yan.
May traffic pa niyan.